Hello, hello. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Talk That Talk. I'm your host, Jadia. First off, I'd like to say a huge thank you to Alexis for jumping in and hosting last week's episode. Really appreciate her coming out and being a part of that. She is a part of the show, so this definitely will not be the last time that you see her. So today I have a very special guest, a very, very, very special guest. I have known this young lady for 14 years. Yeah, 14 years now. So it's been a while and we're still going strong, stronger than ever, unbreakable one. Welcome everybody to the show, my friend Danielle Escobar.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. So, how are you? How's it going?
I'm doing really good actually. This whole COVID, everything it looks like things are kind of changing and kind of hopefully very hopeful very soon. I just got my vaccination, so I'm hoping that things are looking up.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I hope so. I'm sure I know well more so than less everybody's ready to get back to how we were doing things before all this happened.
Definitely.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, or like what you're up to, how's life treating you and all that good stuff?
Definitely. So my name is Danielle Escobar. I'm 30 years old. I'm a practicing school psychologist, and I support students with various disabilities from the ages of 11 to 14. Judy and I have been friends for 14 years now, which just sounds crazy. I met him when I was 16 years old, and we were very different people back then.
Yeah, we were at the same time we weren't. I would say we're probably still just as crazy and weird as we were back then, if not more so.
I would definitely say that's true. Um, I'm a dedicated Britney Spears fan. My 30th birthday was supposed to be Britney Spears themed, but unfortunately was canceled due to COVID. So it's going to happen, which is hence my costume, Britney Spears circus.
The
And
whole
then
the whole setup there, yes.
exactly. I've been a pretty big Britney Spears fan. I used to love going to the mall and buying those hit clips. I don't know if you remember those. They were like little 20-second songs.
Yes. Oh, I
Yeah,
completely forgot about that.
it's like the original iPod. And I would like listen to Baby One More Time like over and over and over and over again. Just like 20 seconds of it though. And just
Right.
like sometimes I run. Like sometimes, sorry, that's sometimes, but I listen to all of them. So I
Oh,
was just a
that's
huge
funny.
fan.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and just before we get started, too, like I am by no means like making a diagnosis on Brittany or have any kind of medical opinion on this. This is all just from being a fan and kind of following her career and following things. So, just before we get started, this is by no means a medical or any kind of diagnosing or anything like that. Just kind of speculation and
Right.
curiosity more than anything.
Right. Which is actually a great segue into today's topic, which is the hashtag Free Britney movement. Now, I know not everybody is a Britney fan, or she may be a guilty pleasure for some people. It's like listening to her when nobody's around type of situation. But it's the topic is basically her career and how it's all led up to conservatorship. And so we're actually going to get into that, which is a very, very interesting theme basically. And so yeah, we're just going to kind of get into that a little bit. So yeah, again, Danielle, thank you so much for joining me and kind of weighing in on this topic. I'm pretty excited to get into this.
Definitely. How familiar are you with the Britney Spears movement and conservatorship? Like, what do you know, and what have you like learned about recently? I know the documentary recently came out on Hulu that everyone's been watching. Did you get a
Right.
chance to watch that, or where are you at on
No.
that?
Oh God. Like I am late and I should have watched it like the minute it came out. So I really just only information that I really have is just what I have read online, which obviously you can't always trust, but just, kind of getting an overview, of
Definitely.
everything that's been going on with her. And so yeah, we are about to get into this, people. So let's just get back. Let's get into this.
So, what is a conservatorship? Conservatorship, to your knowledge, do you have any information about that, or do you know what that is exactly?
I don't have any knowledge about the conservatorship, man. For me, I'm assuming just kind of going off of what I was reading and just kind of what I've seen is that it's basically when somebody else is in charge of, I don't want to say your personal affairs, but they're kind of just in charge of your well-being when I guess you're maybe a little bit too much of a danger to yourself to take care of yourself on your own. So that's,
Definitely.
yeah.
And people have like medical conservatorship and financial conservatorship, and Britney is under both like that umbrella. She doesn't have like any kind of like almost like rights, I would say, to herself without having like permission. It's kind of like reminds me of being kind of like when you're a child and your parents have like ultimate say on what you can do.
Right.
Britney has that with her father right now, which is very interesting because we've all seen her acting and doing great things and have her residency in Vegas. And so it's crazy to wonder how a human that can be functioning and making millions of dollars a year can have such little say on their day-to-day activities for things like using a cell phone, for things like purchasing things, taking medications. That kind of just seems crazy that that's happening to her.
Just everyday things that are no longer in your control to do yourself. And the thing is, I mean, you have to think about it. If she's been doing the residency in Las Vegas, learning the choreography, remembering when to go from this point to that point and interact with this dancer, or to go to this part of the stage and do all of that, how can she not be able to, take herself to the grocery store? How can she not be trusted to take care of her kids or to be at home? Like, I don't understand that. So that's what's
Well, you're a performer too, so I'm sure you completely understand that, like how much work and effort and energy goes into a production and a performance.
it does. And especially, and that's if you're, if you have a good memory, or if you don't, if it takes you a while to learn something, or if it doesn't take you a long time to learn something and to, and to perfect it. Because, okay, once you get it down, okay, now let's clean it up. Let's, fix this part. Let's fix this, to really clean it up and give something presentable to people. So the thing is, you have to take that into consideration. So I think it's one of those things that just got out of hand.
Conservatorships are usually for elderly people that can no longer make decisions for themselves. And so it's so
Right.
interesting to see this healthy 26-year-old woman who clearly was having some mental health issues at the time has now like lost her rights to herself like long term, and having it be permanent versus, again, I understand temporarily that she was having some real struggles, and we'll kind of get into like the timeline of events of her life, because I find at that time, like, I don't know how we were like, probably I was like 17 at the time, between 14 and 17 when this was happening. And I remember just like hearing the bits and pieces and seeing all the tabloids and like Us Weekly and Teen Vogue and things like that, and being like, oh my gosh, she's really having some troubles. And it got to be like a mockery or a joke of her. Like, I remember all this, she had skits everywhere, people were laughing at her. And so it's
Yeah.
crazy to think that wouldn't have happened possibly today in today's society.
Okay, so with that being said, do you want to give us run through a little overview of her career that kind of led us up to this point?
Definitely. And so I think where things started to really kick off for Britney Spears was 2004 to 2006. This is post a couple of her CDs. She's been wildly successful at this point. During this time, she begins dating and marrying Kevin Federline
Mm,
while he's pregnant with another woman's baby, Shar Jackson. I know her name was really big and buzzy back in like the 04, 05 era.
right.
We see Britney Spears this time being photographed. She also has her first child at this point with Kevin Federline,
Mm,
doing kind of some reckless parent things. She's being seen driving a car with her child in her lap,
yeah.
with an anonymous car seat. She's questioned again by CPS when her son falls out of a high chair. And so it just has a lot of kind of eyes on her. And I remember during that time seeing a lot of photos of her, like her car being completely surrounded by paparazzi. Like she can't even move or back out without people
Right.
like all over her. And so crazily enough, during that time, she announces her second pregnancy. And so her parenting's already been kind of questioned at that point, and she has another baby. And so, very
Ugh,
interestingly enough, I didn't realize her and Kevin Federline's relationship was so short. So, November 2006, she filed for divorce, and she goes infamously skating at the Rockefeller Center ice skating the day that they divorced. And it was all these photos of her smiling, going around. I remember seeing all this, like, this is crazy.
oh yeah, right, right. Yeah, honestly, I guess I didn't realize that it was that short either. It felt like they were together for quite a while, and then when it ended, it felt, well, for me personally, it felt like it was just an abrupt ending. Like, oh, okay, like what happened? And I remember, man. I mean, like you were saying, like the skits and like people just kind of mocking her and Kevin Fairline and their relationship and just kind of what they were doing as parents and all of that. And it was, yeah, it was intense. I mean, like it's, it's like when you think about it, obviously, okay, well, she obviously needs somebody to help her, you know, because she's obviously not in this mindset or this state of mind to do things for herself on her own. Somebody needs to kind of, you know, take care of those things for her. But also, when you think about it, it's there were other things that played into that. I feel that things got worse because of her being in the public eye. So of course, you know, she's this young girl. She's this young, successful girl, you know, in a music industry that's predominantly, you know, men. And so therefore there's that kind of, you have to take that consideration. And then when she started to go down that road, then all of a sudden the paparazzi is all in her face. You know, she doesn't even really have that time to chance to breathe or to kind of deal with what's going on with her. Because the thing is, they were saying that, you know, throughout her career at a certain point, she was kind of hinting at what was going on.
So kind of getting back to that little like mid-November. So she just about divorced Kevin Federline. She's feeling good. She goes out with her girl. She goes out with Paris Hilton at the point and starts to kind
Oh,
of
that
like,
infamous picture.
you know, the photo I'm talking about. She
Yes.
goes out pantyless, getting out of her car, her low-rise vehicle, Paris's car. And that photo is literally everywhere at the time. Like you can't escape seeing that photo. I remember seeing it. I was like, oh gosh. And I was like 16 at the time. And I was like, this is insane. Like the fact
Yeah.
that this woman's private parts are online, on tabloids, like and people are making jokes about like so many jokes about her. It's unreal at this point.
Right. But you know, it's wow, it's crazy. But is there any more in the timeline? Is there
Yeah, so
chance?
this kind of brings us into this infamous time period of 2007, and I see, you know, you see the shirts that say, "If Britney survived 2007, so can you." So this brings us right into that time frame, and so Britney continues to go out and party. We're like in January at this time. February 14th at this point, she checks into rehab. Checks out a day later. No one really knows the circumstances or why. 2 days later, in Sherman Oaks, California, she's seen at a beauty salon shaving her entire head, and again those photos became pretty infamous. So
Yeah,
about
I
4 days
remember.
later, she checks into drug and rehab, is there for 24 hours yet again. Now between like February and July, she kind of loses custody at this point of her children, partial. And she works with her team to get 50-50 custody back of her children from Kevin Federline. At that point, her like inner circle team starts to get fired or quit or move on. I think a lot of people are starting to move in and out of her life at that point.
Yeah.
This is what I found really interesting, which I felt like the documentary didn't cover. So in August 2007, Britney Spears hits a car that's parked while being like kind of stalked by the paparazzi. She is unlicensed at the time, unfortunately. And so she leaves a little note and says, like, it's Britney. And then about a month later, she gets, it's September, she goes to that infamous 2007 blackout performance at the VMAs. And poor girl, this was a bad one, as she looked not well. I remember that. I'm sure the bad extensions,
Oh,
the
jeez.
disorientation, the lackluster moves. It was not a good look for her at that point. So this is the part that kind of just like blows my mind a little bit. And again, the timeline I feel is really important because I didn't realize how tight this window of time was. So that happens in September. Then September 21st, she goes to court and she's formally charged with 2 misdemeanors of a hit and run and causing damage to property and also driving without a license. So that's where she potentially loses custody of her children, more full-time capacity to
Mhm.
Kevin Federline. And then at this point in 2008, we kind of fast forward a little bit further. She's committed to a psychiatric ward in California under a 5150 hold for the second time. Her father at that point is put as temporary guardianship over her, giving conservatorship, and the arrangement was made permanent by the end of the year. So this is kind of crazy to me. And this is where I didn't realize again, the fastness of this case is that was in November of 2008.
Mhm.
And then sorry, I apologize. That was in 2008. And in November of 2008, 10 months later, she releases the Circus album and has her giant comeback. So this
Okay.
is a woman that has no rights to herself. And
Right.
she is now super famous, hit her stride again, looks better than ever, sounds better than ever. Her songs are smashing like records and things like that. So it really throws you off that how is this person that's so debilitated cannot make their own judgment and choices. And ever since then, we haven't really seen a lot of change. I know she's petitioned several times over to have the conservatorship altered or changed because she
Right.
doesn't want her dad to be kind of making those decisions for her. And I'm sure as an adult, I would not sure how I want my parents to be fully in charge of my life and decision making at this point.
Right. And and just I don't know if people even realize just the impact that she has as an artist, even with all of that stuff going on when she came out with the Blackout album before Circus, that still did extremely well. Even with all of that stuff that went on, it still did extremely well. She still had a lot of, like she still had hit singles off that album. People still perform a lot of songs from that album still to this day. And that was even before Circus. So it's just that kind of just lets you know like the impact, that she had in her career. But man, so that's when it started, was when she lost custody of her kids.
I have lots of thoughts on like other areas of Britney Spears, and I'm sure you do too, about like the Justin Timberlake stuff and things like that. So we can get into that a little bit.
I have my thoughts on that whole Justin Timberlake situation because he does play a part in this. So is that the end of her timeline? Is there anything that we missed?
I think that's pretty much it. And kind of just fast forward to us to now. I know she did her Vegas residency, which is important to note on, and she appeared in some TV bits as well. Her Instagram has also been a very big point of what's happening here with her. That's also been very concerning as well.
Right.
I don't know if you get a chance to the dancing videos and things like that. So other than that, she seems like she's in a relationship now with looks like a personal trainer, and she's doing well. But we're all wondering, like, when is this whole thing going to end? When is she going to come back and like be herself again, potentially? Or is this the Britney that we're going to have for the next several years of our lives?
Right.